Don't speak just yet. Breathe in slowly. You're safe where you are, tucked beneath your blanket, far from the grime and gloom of ages past. But tonight, we're going back. Not to castles, or courts, or cathedrals. No, we're stepping into the shadows beneath them, into the prisons that history would rather we forget. Imagine this. The air is cold, damp, and heavy with rot. Stone walls drip with condensation, and a single candle flickers in a shallow alcove, casting long, twitching shadows. You hear chains rattle, a groan from deep within the darkness, and the slow, deliberate footsteps of someone who doesn't rush. Down here, time has no meaning. Hours stretch like torture racks, but up above, the medieval world goes on. Nobles feast, monks chant, and peasants till the fields, while down below, prisoners vanish from memory. Tonight, we're going to explore what it truly meant to be thrown into one of these dungeons. No courtroom dramas, no grand escapes, just a cold, iron-barred reality where survival wasn't promised, and mercy was as rare as clean water. Before we begin, settle in. This story isn't meant to frighten, it's meant to illuminate. In its own quiet, eerie way, it's about understanding what the forgotten endured when the world turned its back on them. A journey through iron, mildew, silence, and pain. Close your eyes now. Let the hum of the past roll in like a chill mist. Let's descend, together. You don't remember the exact moment it happened, only that the sky was still dark when you were taken. Your head throbs, not from a beating, but from the sheer weight of the shock. You shift slightly, only to hear the unmistakable clink of iron. Not distant, not vague. It's attached to you. Your wrists, shackled. The cold metal bites your skin, and the slightest movement sends a tremor down your spine. Not because of pain, yet, but because of what it means. You are no longer a person. You are property. You are someone's problem, someone's burden, someone's entertainment, or punishment. You try to orient yourself in the darkness, but there is no light, not even moonlight through a window. No torch, just the smell of filth, the feel of rough stone beneath you, and a chill so deep it seems to curl around your bones. Somewhere in the distance, could be a few feet or an entire corridor away, you hear the shuffle of bare feet, not hurried, not hesitant, just defeated. The low murmur of voices you can't quite make out, a cough that sounds like it came from a chest filled with sawdust. And then, silence again. Your back sticks to the straw beneath you. It's damp, moldy, possibly moving. Something small skitters across your ankle. Too light to be a rat, too fast to be your imagination. You flinch. The chains rattle again. They always rattle. You wonder, what did I do to deserve this? But in the Middle Ages, guilt wasn't always what put you here. You might have stolen a loaf of bread. You might have owed taxes. You might have just angered the wrong man in the wrong robe on the wrong day. Or maybe you did nothing at all. Maybe you're here because someone needed a scapegoat. But those thoughts don't warm you. They don't loosen the shackles. Your throat is dry. You lick your lips instinctively, but it feels like licking parchment. The air is stale, thick with breath and decay, but strangely empty of humanity. That's the thing about these prisons. They weren't made for justice. They were made to disappear people. Your sense of time? Already gone. You could have been here an hour, or a day, or a week. It's all just the same cycle of hunger, cold, and fear. You hear something new now, the creak of iron, a door, far away, groaning open on ancient hinges. Then, heavy footsteps, boots, purposeful. A jailer. You hear keys before you see them. Hear the jingle, the quiet metal song that has preceded pain for so many. You can smell him before he speaks. Sour wine, grease, unwashed fabric. He doesn't say your name. He doesn't ask if you're comfortable. He just spits to the side and growls. You'll learn not to squirm when the rats bite. They like the fresh ones. And then he laughs, not cruelly, just tiredly, like it's a joke he's told too many times. The door slams shut again. You're alone, except you're not. Not really. Something breathes in the cell across from you. Shallow, shaky, alive, but barely. Your eyes have started to adjust now. Barely. The outline of the wall becomes visible, the shadow of something hanging from a hook. Something that once was someone. And just like that, the weight of it all settles on your chest. You are in a medieval prison, and you won't last a day. It always begins with a knock. Not the polite kind. Not the kind that waits for permission. This knock doesn't ask. It announces. 3 thuds. Heavy. Measured. Each one sinks into your chest like a stone dropped in water. You're not a criminal. Not in your mind. You've lived a quiet life. Selling bread. Mending shoes. Sweeping floors. Maybe you spoke out once. Maybe you failed to bow low enough. Or maybe you simply owed the wrong nobleman 2 copper coins too many. In the Middle Ages, it didn't take much. But none of that matters when the men with the Lord's crest on their surcoats are at your door. They don't shout. They don't ask questions. They don't even meet your eyes. One holds a scroll. Another holds a club. The third has the look of someone who's done this far too many times. You're not read rights. There is no warrant, no trial, only a sentence. And you don't know yet whether it's meant to last hours or the rest of your days. They drag you through the muddy streets while your neighbors peek through shutters. Some gasp. Some nod knowingly. Some just look away. No one helps. Helping you could mean sharing your fate. Your wrists are bound with hempen rope, tight enough to bruise, loose enough to cut circulation. Behind you, the club swinger keeps a measured pace, making sure you never think of running. The man with the scroll never speaks. You wonder what's written on it. Is your name even spelled right? Was it a mistake? You ask. Why am I being taken? One of them glances at you. Speak to the jailer. But there's no trial waiting, not today. You're led through the castle gatehouse, where the echo of your footsteps merges with those of other prisoners. Ghosts you can't see yet. The guards exchange nods with others. No questions are asked. No papers exchanged. They don't need to. In this time, power is its own permission. The outer world fades behind you. The sunlight disappears. The stone corridors grow colder, narrower. You descend, down spiral stairs worn smooth by the feet of the forgotten. A rat runs past your boot. It's not afraid of you. It knows who really belongs down here. You arrive at a door. Iron-studded, warped with moisture, and always, always locked from the outside. The jailer awaits. He looks like he was born in this prison. Face like stone. Teeth yellowed by mead. A ring of iron keys dangles from his belt like a badge of power. He says your name without asking for it. You wonder how he knew. He doesn't say what you did. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't care. You try to speak again, but he holds up a hand. No talking unless you're being questioned, he says. Then, without malice, you'll get your turn. They open the door. It smells of mildew and ancient rot. The air is so thick with dampness, it feels like walking into a bog. There's no bed, just straw. And the wall, cold, slick stone, where people have pressed their backs and left nothing behind but stains and silence. The jailer unties your hands, but your freedom ends there. He swaps the rope for shackles, iron on bone, chains to the wall. He nods once, then leaves. The door slams behind you. The lock clicks. You're not in the world anymore. That's how easy it is. Not with drama, not with cries for justice, not with last-minute reprieves or glowing swords or noble speeches. Just a knock. Just a name on a scroll. Just a man with keys who's been waiting for you, whether you deserved it or not. And now, you're someone else. You're a prisoner. And the first day is only beginning. The punishment doesn't begin when the dungeon door slams shut. It begins in the streets, in front of everyone, when you're marched from the safety of your home to the pit of your sentence. In the Middle Ages, public humiliation wasn't an accident. It was the point. Your wrists are still bound, but now the rope's been tied to a longer cord, one held by a guard with a smirk on his lips and dirt on his boots. Behind you, more prisoners are tethered. Some cry, some mumble prayers, others stare blankly ahead, hollow-eyed from weeks of despair. You're now part of a procession of punishment. The walk is deliberate, slow. They want people to look. Children are the first to appear. Curious faces peering from under carts and across bread stalls. Then come the murmurs. Then laughter. "Thief!" someone shouts, though they don't know what you've done. "Drunkard! Heretic!" another yells. The truth doesn't matter. You pass a group of women hanging laundry. One spits in your direction. Another crosses herself. A boy throws a clod of dirt that hits you square in the shoulder. The guard doesn't stop him. This is a ritual, a stripping of identity. Before the rats and chains, you are stripped of dignity. The marketplace is the worst. The center of town, bustling with vendors, clanging church bells, pigs rooting through scraps, is where your shame is displayed. The guards pause there on purpose, not because they have to, but because they can. You're forced to stand, eyes down, hands bound. Sometimes you're placed in the pillory for a short hour. Your head and hands locked in a wooden frame, exposed to whatever the crowd sees fit to throw. Eggs, dung, rotten cabbage. If you cry, they mock you. If you don't, they try harder. There's no trial to speak of here. No judge in robes, no defense. In this place, your innocence is irrelevant. You've already been condemned by the crowd. And worst of all, part of you starts to believe them. Eventually, you're pulled from the square and marched past the town's edge. The path to the prison is narrow, uneven, carved with the footsteps of thousands who've walked it before you. The sun, if it's shining, feels like a joke, bright and cheerful on a day that has stolen your name. The prison looms ahead, not a grand fortress, but a squat, stone-faced building nestled into the hillside or beneath a castle keep. There are no windows. No birds perch on its roof. Even the moss growing on its walls seems grim. You arrive. The guards exchange nods. The rope is untied. The man with the keys appears again. His face is unreadable. He doesn't need to show cruelty. The stones around him already do. "Take off your shoes," he says. You hesitate. Now. You obey. The ground beneath your feet is cold, wet, rough. And for the first time, it hits you. You're not going home. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. As the gates creak open, you feel something behind you give way. Not your body, your sense of time, of reality. It collapses into the weight of the moment. No crowds now, no sunlight. Just a hallway of darkness and echoes, and the quiet certainty that this walk is one way. You cross the threshold, the door closes behind you, and just like that, the world forgets you. There's a sound that doesn't exist in the outside world. It's the deep, dragging groan of an iron gate closing behind you, not with speed, but with certainty. That sound becomes a memory, etched into your spine. It echoes long after the gate has shut, because it signals something final. You're no longer among the free. The door is heavy, the kind that takes two men to push, and still sighs with effort as it closes. You don't watch it shut. You feel it shut, through your soles, through your chest. And with it, the last sliver of sunlight you saw that day is gone. Your eyes strain to adjust, but the corridor ahead remains cloaked in shadow. A single torch flickers near the entrance, casting sickly yellow light on moss-covered stone. The walls are damp. The floor is slick. Somewhere nearby, water drips with an irregular rhythm. Plink, plink, plink. A cruel substitute for time. Your bare feet slap the stone with each step. The chill creeps upward. Your breath comes in short, shallow puffs, misting the air. It's not the cold that scares you. It's what the cold means. No fire, no warmth. No one cares if you're cold here. Warmth is a luxury for the living. A rat darts past, then another. You flinch, but the jailer doesn't. Keep walking, he says without looking back. You pass doors. Some have bars, others are solid wood. A few are open, revealing vacant cells with scattered straw and dark stains on the walls. Stains you instinctively know are not from wine. A scream rises from somewhere deep in the prison, muffled but sharp. Then it stops as suddenly as it began. No one reacts. Not the guards, not the jailer. This is normal here. You turn a corner. The hallway narrows. The ceiling lowers. You duck slightly, though the jailer does not. He's used to the descent. And then you reach it. The pit. They call it that. Not officially, but in hushed tones. The place where they put the ones they want forgotten. A cylindrical space carved into the earth itself, ringed with crumbling stone steps that spiral downward. There is no central light, just layers of darkness. You begin to descend. Each step downward feels like a lifetime. The temperature drops with every foot. The walls grow slicker. The air turns heavy, stale, and sour, like breath and rot and despair stirred together and left to ferment for decades. The lower you go, the quieter it gets. Not the peace of night, but the silence of suffocation, a quiet that swallows you. You reach the floor of the pit. It's not a room. It's a collection of cells, dug into the walls like open mouths. Some are closed, others gape, empty, but they all look the same. Dark, wet, and hollow. The jailer points. That one. You approach. You don't want to. Every instinct in your body tells you to stop, to run, to scream. But there's nowhere to go. No one to scream to. And your feet, betraying you, keep moving. Inside, there's nothing. No bed, no blanket, just straw, chains. A bowl crusted with something that used to be food. A smell so foul it bypasses your nose and goes straight to your stomach. The jailer doesn't push you. He doesn't have to. You step inside. The ceiling is low. You can't stand upright. The floor is uneven, forcing you to settle into one miserable corner. The air is still and wet, like breathing through cloth soaked in stagnant water. A chain hangs from a ring in the wall. The jailer attaches your ankle to it with a swift clank of iron. It's tight, but not snug. Movement is possible, but only just enough to prevent rest. He doesn't say anything as he walks away, but he doesn't have to. The gate is closed again. You hear the footsteps fading. The last torchlight vanishes around the corner. And now you are alone. Truly alone. Not a peaceful solitude, but a suffocating void. The kind that presses against your chest and wraps around your ribs. A blackness so complete, you can't tell if your eyes are open. You don't cry. Not yet. You sit. You wait. And you listen to the distant drip of water, to the sudden scuttling sounds behind you, to the quiet breathing of someone or something in the cell next door. Your mind begins to race. How long will I be here? Days? Weeks? Months? Will anyone come? Will anyone remember me? Did I deserve this? But your thoughts fade as the darkness envelops them, and before long, time no longer matters. Only survival. Only the next breath. Only the pit. You are still. Not because you want to be, but because the space won't allow otherwise. Your cell is barely wide enough to lie flat, and even then, you must curl your knees to avoid pressing against the opposite wall. The ceiling is low and arched, just enough to suggest that it was once carved with intention, long ago, by hands that never imagined comfort. The first thing you learn is that the walls sweat, constantly. The stones are slick with moisture, and when you lean against them, it seeps through your clothes and chills your bones. It's not rainwater. It's not clean. It smells of mildew, urine, and something deeper, something rotting. Perhaps centuries of rot. Straw is scattered across the floor. Or what was once straw. Most of it has turned black and clumped together, molded by the endless damp. It squishes slightly beneath you, and now your hands smell like it too. You're hungry. Not the kind of hunger that rumbles playfully. This is the kind that turns your stomach into a fist, tight, angry, gnawing. You'd eat bread soaked in ditch water right now, and you're already dreaming of things you'd never touch outside these walls. You spot your first rat before the hour's up. It moves confidently, like it owns the place, because it does. It doesn't scurry in fear. It walks, pauses, watches you, then disappears into a crack in the wall. You don't scream. You whisper, "Go away." But you know it will return. Not just that one, many. And they aren't the worst things you'll see. Time slows in the cell. It stretches. It sags. There's no sun, no candle, no sound to mark the hours. You listen to yourself breathe, just to prove you're still there. You hear scratching behind the walls, tiny claws on stone, or perhaps something worse. The cell across from you is not always quiet. Sometimes it groans. Sometimes it weeps. You try to speak once. You whisper, "Who's there?" The response is a long silence, and then a sob. No words, just the sadness of someone who's forgotten how to talk. At some point, hours, a day, you hear boots. The jailer. He stops at your cell and tosses something through the bars. A wooden bowl, barely a scoop of gray sludge inside. Gruel. Cold, lumpy, unseasoned. It smells faintly of rancid animal fat and sawdust. You eat it with your fingers. You swallow fast, because if you wait, the rats will come. You lick the bowl. You hate that you licked the bowl. The walls talk, not with words, but with stories, etched in scratches, stains, blood that was never fully scrubbed away. Someone before you carved tally marks into the mortar, 48 lines, then nothing. You wonder what happened on day 49. You find a small bone in the straw. Human? Rat? You can't tell. You throw it into the corner. It hits something soft. You freeze. Something is sleeping in the next cell, or pretending to. You cough to let it know you're awake. It doesn't move. You count your breaths. You whisper your name just to hear it aloud. You say it again. It feels strange, like it doesn't belong to you anymore. Names don't matter in here. Only silence does. The shadows grow. Not because the light changes, but because your mind plays tricks. You begin to see things in the corners. The curve of a shoulder, the outline of a face pressed into the stone, a hand reaching up, a smile where there should be none. But when you blink, there's nothing. Your mind starts to drift, to unravel. You remember faces, your mother's, your brother's, a friend you used to trade coins with in the market. You wonder if they even know where you are. You wonder if they care. You wonder if they dared to ask. You whisper their names too. Then you stop, because every word feels like it costs something. At last, sleep takes you. But it isn't rest, it's escape. Shallow, flickering sleep filled with dreams that taste like fever and fear. In one, you walk out of the cell. In another, the rats drag you into the wall. You wake in darkness, still shackled, still damp, still hungry. Nothing has changed. And that's the horror of it. Not the pain, not even the fear, but the nothingness. Because here in the cell, you learn that the worst punishment isn't torture. It's being forgotten. You are not alone in this prison, but loneliness persists because the others here have long forgotten how to be human. It begins with the voices, not conversations. No one chats down here. These are fragments, grunts, cries, gasps that rise in the dark and bounce off the stone like echoes of a dying world. Someone murmurs prayers constantly, not loud, but endless. It's like breathing to them. Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. One man screams, not just once, but in waves. You count them between your own breaths, every hour, maybe two. Long, drawn-out howls that ripple through the walls and make your hair rise. You wonder why. You wonder what they're doing to him. Sometimes you hear laughter, but it's never warm. The cell next to yours groans with movement. You can't see them, not clearly, but the shape is there, hunched in a far corner, occasionally shifting, mumbling. They speak to someone, maybe you, maybe themselves. One night, you whisper, "What's your name?" The reply comes hours later. "I was a miller once." That's all. No name, no story. Just a thread of identity, frayed and drifting. Across the corridor, you hear wheezing, shallow, rhythmic. You don't remember when it started, but one day it stops. Just stops. No one comes. No one checks. The silence left in its place is worse than the breath ever was. The rats return. They are the true inhabitants here. Bold, silent, clever. At night, they climb across chains, scurry over limbs. One nibbles your toe. You flinch. It hisses, as if offended, then disappears. They are not afraid of you. They know your kind well. You tie a scrap of rag around your ankle to keep them off the rawest parts. It helps, slightly. You've learned their rhythm now. They wait until you sleep, then come. Then there are the guards. You don't see them often. When you do, they rarely speak. But sometimes, you hear them laughing behind closed doors, telling jokes, slapping dice on a table. There's a fire somewhere beyond your wall. Its heat never reaches you, but its scent does. Charred wood, meat. They feed you only when they remember. Twice a day, maybe, or once. Gruel, mostly. Stale bread, if you're lucky. Water in a cracked bowl. One day you find something floating in it. You drink it anyway. The jailer. He walks past now and then, sometimes with a torch, more often not. He pauses at certain cells. You hear keys, chains, movement, then silence. You don't ask where they go. You're afraid of knowing. And then There's the one they call the screamer. You've never seen him. He's kept in a deeper cell. But his presence fills the corridors like fog. They say he confessed to something the church didn't like. Or maybe he insulted the wrong noble. Or maybe he's simply mad. Every night, he screams. Not in terror, in rage. Furious, throat-tearing howls that sound like curses in a language you don't know. The walls shiver with his voice. The other prisoners fall silent when he begins. You curl into yourself and wait it out. It's not just fear. It's contagion. You fear that if you listen too long, you'll understand him. Days pass, or what you think are days. You learn the rhythm of your neighbors. When they sleep, when they cry, when they scratch the walls. Someone further down the corridor sings, a broken song about flowers and saints. Her voice is hoarse, haunting, a lullaby turned warning. You try not to remember their faces, the gaunt cheeks, the eyes sunken in shadow. They were once people. Now they are reminders of what you'll become. One night, a new prisoner arrives. They're dragged and sobbing. Their footsteps are loud, uneven. You hear begging, promises, denials. The guards don't answer. The door slams shut. The corridor quiets again. And just like that, they become one of you. Down here, identity fades. Names vanish. Memories rust. All that remains is sound. The low symphony of survival. Chains shifting. Rats scratching. Someone weeping. Someone gasping. Someone whispering to the saints. And you, somewhere in the dark, realizing you no longer fear the screams. You fear the silence that comes after. At first, hunger is just an inconvenience. Your stomach growls. You grimace. You wait for the next crust of bread or bowl of gruel. You hope it comes soon. You imagine it. Something warm. Something soft. Something that tastes like anything. But it doesn't come. And that's when hunger becomes a presence. Not a feeling. Not a symptom. A companion. It follows you through the silence. It coils through your ribs. It replaces your thoughts. You no longer dream of freedom or justice. You dream of food. Not even delicacies. Just enough. Bread that isn't stale. Cheese that isn't green. Even cold porridge would feel like a feast. But the jailer skips your cell today. Or perhaps he forgot. Or perhaps he didn't. You lick the inside of your bowl, even though it hasn't held anything in a day. The wooden surface tastes like mildew and spit and splinters, but your tongue doesn't care. Your mouth dries. You press it against the damp wall, hoping to catch moisture, mold be damned. You swallow just to feel the motion, to remember what it's like. Someone down the hall starts moaning, not from pain, but from emptiness. It's a slow, rhythmic sound, like a chant, one you start to understand. Soon, you stop producing saliva. Your tongue sticks to your teeth. Your limbs grow weak. You can't rise from the corner without shaking. Your knees buckle the moment you try. Your breath becomes thin. Every effort, a cost. And worst of all, your mind begins to change. Thoughts slow. Memories slip. You can't remember your family's faces. You forget your hometown's name. You start to forget why you were even brought here. Instead, you think of chewing, of bark, of cloth, of flesh. You eye the rats differently now. They're fast. They'd fight back. But what if you caught one? What if you waited, baited, trapped? Would it matter? Would it matter who you become? The guards return. They toss something into your cell, half a loaf, moldy and damp. It lands in the straw. You don't hesitate. You don't question. You crawl. You tear into it like an animal. No time for prayer or decency. You chew. You swallow. You cough on crumbs. You eat dirt and hair and whatever else came with it. It doesn't fill you, but it silences the screams for a while. And that's the game hunger plays. It never leaves. It just goes quiet, waits, and then returns with sharper teeth. Time loses meaning in starvation. You begin to hallucinate. A light that isn't there, a scent of roasted meat drifting through the cracks, a woman's voice singing in your ear, soothing, until you realize it's coming from inside your head. You laugh. You sob. You forget which is which. You dream of banquets, of sitting at a table so long you can't see the ends, plates piled high, wine that doesn't exist, people who speak your name. Then you wake with your hand in your mouth, chewing your own knuckle. Someone dies 2 cells down. You can smell it before you hear it, a sweetness that turns sour. The guards don't come. No one removes the body. The rats are the only visitors now. You stare at the wall, not in horror, but in envy. And then, one day, you feel nothing. Your stomach no longer growls. Your thoughts are soft, like feathers in a windless room. You stop hoping for food. You stop fearing its absence. This is the final stage of hunger. Resignation, not peace, not acceptance, just the slow, decaying understanding that your body will eat itself until there's nothing left to feed on. And then you will become one of the whispers, one of the stains, one of the nameless. You are no longer starving. You are becoming hollow. You hear his boots before you see him. Heavy, slow, certain, the jailer. In the beginning, you feared him because of what he represented, the end of your freedom. Now, you fear him because of what he enjoys. His visits are never routine. They are unpredictable, like a summer storm. One day, he doesn't appear at all. The next, he lingers, not to check on your health, not to deliver food. He lingers to watch. You've seen the type before. On the outside, maybe a blacksmith or a tavern drunk. But in here, with keys jingling from his belt and the scent of iron and sweat clinging to his cloak, he transforms into something else entirely. Something worse. A man who has authority without oversight. And worse still, when he first opens the cell door, you brace yourself. Not from fear of violence, though that's always possible, but because you never know what version of him is stepping through. Will it be the silent observer who just stands in the doorway and stares? Will it be the talker who asks rhetorical questions you dare not answer? Still breathing, are we? What's it like, knowing no one's coming for you? You look thinner. Good for you. Or will it be the cruel one, the one with the stick? He carries a wooden rod, carved from you, about the length of his forearm. It's not for killing. That would be too merciful. It's for correction, as he puts it. A sharp jab to the ribs. A casual swing across the back of your legs. A tap to the fingers just to see if you're still responsive. He does it without rage, without words. Just a flick of the wrist. And then a pause to watch your reaction. Once, he brings a torch, not because you need light, but because he wants to see you flinch. He shines it into your eyes. You wince. He smiles. The kind of smile that isn't joy, but amusement at power. Then he leaves it burning near your cell, hanging it just outside the bars, where you can see the flicker, but not feel the heat. For an hour, or maybe more, you stare at that flame. It dances in your pupils. It reminds you of something warm, something kind. And then, just as your mind begins to drift toward a comforting memory, he snuffs it out. Another day, he brings a bowl of water. You're too weak to rise. He sets it just out of reach. He watches you crawl, limb by limb, toward it. Your hands shake. Your knees burn. Every inch is pain. Just as your fingers graze the rim of the bowl, He nudges it backward with his boot. You don't speak. You can't. He leans down and says, beg. You do. You whisper. You plead. You lower your head. He kicks the bowl across the corridor. Water splashes into the filth. He leaves. But not every visit is cruel. And that's what makes him worse. Sometimes he shows a shred of mercy. He gives you a full crust of bread. He lets you keep your bowl for a night. He asks you a question and pretends to listen. You find yourself hoping for these moments. And that's the true punishment. Hope. It flickers in your chest, fragile and small. It clings to the idea that he might return tomorrow with something better, something human, a word of kindness, a gesture of help. But he never does, because his power doesn't rest in pain. It rests in your dependency. You begin to study his routine. You learn his moods, the way his bootsteps fall when he's angry, the tone of his breath when he's bored. You try to predict him, to outmaneuver him. But there is no pattern, only one constant. He chooses when you matter. And in this prison, that is everything. Because if he stops coming altogether, it means you've slipped beyond worth, beyond notice, beyond cruelty, and into neglect. One day, he pauses at your cell. He squints at you. He tilts his head, studying the sunken hollows of your cheeks, the way your limbs tremble. Then he speaks, not to you, but about you. This one's almost done. Shame. I like the look in his eyes when he first arrived. Then he walks away. And you realize what he liked most was watching the light go out. They come for you without warning. Not the jailer this time, but two guards in darker cloaks. One carries shackles. The other, a torch. Neither says your name. Neither offers an explanation. They don't need to. The moment the cell door creaks open, you know. You're going to be questioned. They don't call it torture. Not officially. The church and the crown both have tidy words for what happens behind thick wooden doors. Interrogation, examination, the extraction of truth. But down here, you know what it really is. They're not looking for facts. They're looking for compliance. And pain is the language they speak best. They drag you by the arms. Your feet barely touch the ground. Your head swims with weakness, hunger, and fear. The corridor turns corners you've never seen. Deeper. Colder. The torch flickers off walls stained darker than soot. Screams have etched themselves into the very stones. You're brought to a room, bare, wide, echoing with silence. A single table sits in the center, rough and wooden. Leather straps dangle from its sides, chains from the ceiling, hooks on the wall. The air smells of scorched iron and old blood. Your knees buckle. They hoist you up. You don't resist. Resistance only extends the process. You've heard the whispers from the others, the ones with bent fingers and shattered knees. They secure you, arms above your head, wrists bound tight. One man holds a small rod of iron to the torchlight. It glows orange. The other begins to speak. But he isn't here for questions. He's here to read from a list. You're accused of something. Heresy, theft, conspiracy, witchcraft. It almost doesn't matter. The real crime was being noticed, being inconvenient, being poor. You don't answer fast enough. You stutter. Your lips are dry. The rod comes closer. You scream before it even touches you, but that doesn't stop them. Pain isn't the goal. It's the ritual. It's how they justify the record they'll file later. The prisoner confessed freely. You don't confess. Not at first. But the questions come harder. They tie you to a chair now. Your hands are flat on the table, fingers spread. A wooden wedge is brought out, a mallet. You cry out. I didn't. The wedge slams between your fingers. The bone makes a sound. a sound you've never heard before, from inside yourself. Time vanishes. They move on to other devices. A boot-crushing vice, a tightening rope across your chest, a cloth over your mouth, and a bucket of water. You begin to say anything. Names, lies, prayers, words in no order, no meaning. You confess to things you didn't do, to things that never happened, to whatever they want. They nod. They write it down. The truth isn't the point. Obedience is. Eventually they stop. They untie you. You slump to the floor. You think they'll leave you there, but they don't. They carry you back to your cell, drop you like a sack of meat. Someone else's turn next. The door shuts. You don't weep. You don't speak. You just stare at the ceiling, blinking slowly. And then you begin to wonder, what did I say? You can't remember, but it's written now, in ink, in records, in law. And in this place, a confession, even one pulled from a scream, is as good as truth. Later that night, you feel the heat still lingering in your skin. Your joints throb with each breath. You close your eyes and see their faces, smiling slightly, like farmers proud of a harvest. Only the harvest was your dignity. You try to sleep, but sleep doesn't come. Only the echo of your own voice, begging for mercy no one ever intended to give. There is no clock in a medieval prison, no bell to chime the hours, no sun to rise or fall. Time here is a rotting thing, soft and slow and without shape. You no longer measure days by meals or footsteps or screams. You measure them by the deepening pain in your joints, the cracks in your lips, the number of times you've seen the same rat circle the straw. But even those begin to fade. You stop trying to guess how long you've been here. Has it been a week? A month? A year? You dream of things that feel real. Walking down a cobbled road, holding a warm bowl of stew, speaking to someone whose name you can't remember anymore. But when you wake, it's always the same. Damp stone, straw underfoot, iron around your ankle. Your body aches in ways it didn't before. Your skin sags, dry and dull. Your gums bleed when you touch them. You catch glimpses of yourself in the pooled water near your bowl. You look like a ghost, a creature that was once a person. The cell stinks of mold and urine, but you don't notice anymore. You breathe it as naturally as air. You've adapted, not by growing stronger, but by giving up the parts of you that once resisted. You stop speaking. Your voice, when it comes, cracks like an old door hinge. You whisper now, but not to others. There's no one left to hear. You speak to the wall, the stones, yourself. Sometimes you hear voices responding. You don't know if they're real. You don't care. The guards have stopped checking on you. The jailer barely glances in as he passes. You're not a threat, not interesting, just background rot. When they do bring food, they don't bother announcing it. They toss it near the bars and keep walking. One day, no food arrives, then 2, then 3. You wonder if this is the end. Not with a rope or an axe, just silence. You curl up, thin as parchment, your bones sharp beneath the skin. Your teeth ache. You think one might fall out. You run your tongue over it obsessively. It feels loose. You laugh when it comes out in your hand. You laugh and cry and press it into the dirt. A relic. A piece of yourself surrendered to the stones. One morning, if it is morning, you wake to light. A crack, a sliver. It might be someone opening a door at the far end of the corridor. Or perhaps you've simply imagined it. You squint. The light is so faint your eyes tear up. Then you smell something. Fresh air. Not a gust, not even a breeze. Just a whiff. Earth, maybe rain, and wood smoke. It passes quickly, but it was real. It reminds you there's a world beyond these stones, a world that has continued without you. People walk streets, bake bread, fall in love, fight wars, die peacefully in warm beds, and you have been forgotten. You realize this now with complete clarity. No one is coming. No one remembers. Your crime, whatever it was, is buried deeper than you are. You've become part of the prison. Your breath, your skin, your voice, woven into its decay. You are no longer a prisoner. You are a fixture, like the rust on the chains, the moss on the stones, the damp in the walls. You try to remember your name. It doesn't come. Just a sound, a syllable. You whisper it anyway, just so the stones know you were once someone. Then you close your eyes and rest. And now, we breathe again, out of the darkness, out of the chains, out of the stench and the silence. You are no longer there. You are no longer shackled to stone or left to rot in a pit. No rats scurry across your toes. No torchlight flickers just out of reach. The voices that whispered through cracks in the wall are gone now, left behind in a world you only touch through imagination. You made it out, not by escape, not by rescue, but by simply waking up here, in this moment, safe, still, whole. But the memory remains, doesn't it? This journey through iron and shadow, into the depths of a place designed not to punish, but to erase. It wasn't about guilt, or justice, or truth. It was about removal, about being forgotten. And that's what made medieval prisons so terrifying. Not the rats, or the beatings, or the starvation, though they were real and brutal. But the way they turned people into silence, into stains on a wall, into bones beneath straw, never marked, never mourned. In that time, to be imprisoned was to vanish, to lose your name, your face, your place in the world. And when the records were rewritten, or never written at all, you became nothing more than an echo in a stone corridor. We study history for its kings and queens, its battles and revolutions. But what about the ones who were locked away? The petty thief who stole to feed his child. The heretic who simply asked a question. The peasant accused by a jealous neighbor. The woman who spoke too loudly, too freely, too soon. They left no monuments, no graves, no last words, only silence. And yet, here we are, telling their story, whispering their names, even if we don't know them. Remembering the truth that a civilization is defined not by its palaces, but by its prisons, by what it hides, by who it chooses to forget, by how quickly it silences those who challenge its order. And in remembering that, we restore something, a voice, a presence, a flicker of human dignity, even in the darkest corners of stone and chain. Tonight, you walk through a world where justice bowed to power, where survival was an act of resistance, where light was a stranger, and kindness rarer than bread. And yet, you emerged, because remembering is resistance, because empathy is survival, because sleep comes easier when we remember what others endured without rest. So now sink into stillness. Let the weight of that forgotten place fall away from your shoulders. Let your breathing slow. Let your eyes grow heavy. And as the silence wraps gently around you, not with fear, but with peace, know that you are safe, you are home, and you are not forgotten. Good night, traveler of shadows. Sleep deeply. Sleep freely. Sleep as those prisoners never could.